Good afternoon, Chair. Your meeting is now live.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councillor Susie Horton and I'm the Chair of SACRE. We are meeting virtually, as you've probably noticed, in response to the limitations placed on governance by the COVID-19 pandemic. Until recently, the law stated that all members had to be present in the room to make formal decisions at meetings. However, the law was amended in response to the COVID-19 emergency, and councils are able to hold public meetings virtually. This will be in accordance with the Local Authorities Coronavirus Flexibility of Local Authority Meetings Regulations 2020 number 392. Members of the public are invited to view this meeting online and the recording will be on the Council's website. Members are requested to keep their microphones on mute and to only turn these on when they are called to speak. If anyone would like to speak, then please write your name and RTS, which is request to speak, which I think we did at the last meeting, in the chat function. Each time you speak, please say who you are so it's clear who is speaking. Okay, welcome everyone. So I'm just going to go through a list to establish who is present today, which makes it a lot easier for me because people tend to move around on the screen. So I'll call out your names and please confirm that you are present. I will leave a couple of seconds for you to unmute because I know how stressful that can be when you're trying to unmute to introduce yourself. So Reverend Sam Duddles.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. Councillor Tom Coles.
Councillor Tom Coles, present, Chair.
Thank you. Maria Cole. I can see Maria, but you haven't quite got off mute. There you go.
I'm here.
Welcome. Taki Jaffa.
Yes, present.
Welcome. Sarah Coote. Sheikh Fazil Abbas Datu. Saeed Aminul Haq. Elizabeth Jenkinson.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. Christine McMillan. Jeff Wheeler.
Present.
Welcome. John Mills. Pastor Chris Thomas.
Present.
Welcome. Akshat Mehta. Sue Bowen.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. Jane Kelly. Sandra Gibb.
Oh, hi. Yes, I am here.
I thought I'd seen you, Sandra.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I am here. I got it. Mute, unmute. I'm there.
Welcome. Helen Reader. I've seen someone's put that she sends her apologies. Carrie Lang. Aisha Small.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Aisha. Debbie Lucas. Gemma Self. Paula Withers. Ali Beechhurst.
I'm here.
Welcome, Ali. Ryan Brent. Patricia Hannam.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome. And Lisa Gallagher.
Present, Chair.
Thank you very much. What a long list we have there. That's great. I'm just going to ask now if somebody has not been called. Oh, someone's microphone isn't working. Microphone isn't working. Did you hear me say that? That's Christine. Okay, thank you for pointing that out.
In addition, I think you missed Jane Kelly, who I think was trying to call in.
Jane is typing now, so welcome, Jane.
Yeah,
we've got you.
Thank you.
Welcome. So I don't think there's anyone else we've missed out. So we'll go on to item 2, which is apologies for absence, apart from the one of Helen Reader that I've just read out. Lisa, is there anyone else? Oh, yes. It's Debbie Anderson.
Debbie Anderson and also John Mills.
Okay. Thank you very much. Last chance for apologies from anyone. No, okay. So we're going on to item 3 now, which is a moment of quiet reflection. And many thanks to Sam for saying that she will take it today. So over to you, Sam.
Thank you. So the pandemic has thrown so many challenges in our direction. And we were noting how we are missing some things about worship and spirituality. As a musician and a priest who loves to sing, I'm really missing the opportunity to be comforted and joyful through music. So I have chosen for our reflection Handel's Messiah. I'm not going to play it all. I chose Handel's Messiah as our opening thought because of the opening words of the first recitative, sung gently by a male tenor. Comfort ye. Comfort ye, my people. Comfort ye. Comfort ye, my people. Saith your God. Saith your God. As we journey through the pandemic, the need for comfort seems to be ever growing. With the funerals I have taken, it is clear to me that the way we comfort one another in our grief has become challenging and has changed so much. No hugs are allowed or can be offered. No cups of tea, not even a tissue can be given. Handel, in his recitative, stretches out that word comfort. He makes it long and beautiful, as though the length of that word comfort is like a blanket that's being placed over the listener. He speaks the words comfortably to Jerusalem. The word comfortably isn't just about comfort like the blanket hold. It is to go to the heart of the person who needs to be comforted. So in our homes during this lockdown, as we approach the darkened evenings and all our lights and candles and beautiful displays that will appear in our streets, take time to listen. Listen to the words of comfort. Comfort. Comfort ye, my people.
Thank you, Sam, so much. That tugged on the heartstrings and it was very, very, very appropriate in these very strange times. So thank you so much. Yes, and I can see some people say thank you. That was
my pleasure.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll now move on to item 4, which is the declaration of members' interests. Has anyone got any interest to declare? I can see Elizabeth waving.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a judge for West Hill, which gives grants to SACREs, so.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Any other ones? Can't see any hands. I suppose Lisa can look out as well.
Yeah, I can't see anyone else.
No, okay. Thank you very much for that. So on to item 5, which is the minutes of the previous meeting, which was the 20th of November 2019. For those who were present at the last meeting, which was which are on the papers. Well, someone's put in here, I've got 2 brief corrections to the minutes. 50 should end saying we received the monitoring group's report, and 56 should refer to the withdrawal of refer to withdrawals from collective worship. Thank you for that feedback. Has anyone else got any, anyone who was there got any corrections to them? No, in which case, is there a proposer from someone who was at that meeting? Is anyone happy to propose? Chris Thomas got a hand up straight away, so thank you, Chris, for proposing. And do I have a seconder? Elizabeth, I can see waving, so thank you very much for those. Those minutes have been approved. Are there any matters arising from those minutes which are not covered in the rest of the agenda? Does anyone want to bring up? Can't see anyone. Okay, thank you very much then. So we can now go on to item 7, which is the membership update, and Pat's going to give a brief update referring to the report.
Yeah.
Over to you, Pat.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you can see from the report, we are seeking some members from some very particular communities, and I think the key thing is to renew our efforts to do that by the time of our next meeting. I think during the last year there have been some other things happening really, but we're in contact with the Board of Deputies to seek a new Jewish representative in particular, but thank you. It's very important that Group A is well populated with the full representation of the communities existent in Portsmouth. In general, we go to the bodies that are overseeing these different communities, but sometimes there are other routes that we may seek, so I think that's all to say really.
Has anyone got any comments that they want to make to Pat on that, of whether they have ideas? Taki, I think you want to say something.
Hi, just to say that I wanted to find out, I noticed from the minutes of the last meeting that Aisha was going to have a look to see if she could get hold of a SACRE representative. Has that been possible or not possible? And if so, I can approach some of the people who used to be on the Portsmouth Interfaith Forum, whether they're still interested to join or not. But, that's all I can offer at present with the Sikh community. The Buddhist or humanist is more difficult because they have very few members within this area, per se.
Thank you for that offer, Taki. Aisha, did you have any luck with that?
Hello, sorry. No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay, Chair, I'd be happy to approach the Sikh communities that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Taki. That would be really useful.
Yes, and we could very explicitly say I'll contact the Portsmouth Diocese, the Portsmouth Catholic Diocese again.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions about that anyone wants to make? Okay. In which case that agenda item is over. Is that okay, Pat? We'll just take it from there with Taki's offer and your approaches. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So item 8 is the brief updates or notifications of items to be brought to a future meeting. I just want to ask if anyone has anything to raise for a future meeting, just so that we capture that now. Nope. Elizabeth.
Yes, sorry, there's something I need to bring up later to do with the annual report, and I just thought I'd mention that it's probably something we'll have to look at for a while. It's to do with having a numerical limit on membership in Group A, and the number doesn't seem to tally, but I also question the idea of having a number limit. It's just something I'll bring up later when we get to it, but I think it is probably going to be something we'll have to discuss.
And to add it onto a future meeting. Okay. All right. Thank you for noting that. now, and we will come back to that during the report. Maria, did you have your hand up? Ah, yes. Maria.
As well. Yeah, it was at a previous meeting I mentioned the fact that we used to have a safe directory, and I have actually found quite a few of these directories because they were updated about every 2 years, and I've got about 3 or 4 of them. But of course I've not been able to come to a meeting and actually show you what these directories look like, and but I think we need to think about whether or not they're going to get renewed at some stage.
Thank you, Maria. Is it useful trying to get them, Pat, or should we wait until we're all?
No, I was thinking one of the things, so SACREs have 2 particular responsibilities. One is to put a curriculum in place and locally agreed syllabus, and the second thing is to monitor that. And SACREs are also able to do other things, things very particular to the locality. And it may be this is something that Portsmouth SACRE might specifically want to look at. I'm wondering if, in advance of bringing an agenda item to a future meeting, Maria and I could put our heads together to look at what she has. So I'm not sure how we minute that, but I'd be willing, Maria and I, we could meet virtually.
That sounds like a good idea.
Bring that to our next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that could be sorted if it can be sorted. Yes.
This could be looked at in relation to the other bodies like EMAS, for example, how we could liaise and work together, whether there's something distinctive for SACRE or not.
That sounds like a very good idea. I mean, I don't know what they're like exactly, but I do remember when I was teaching years back and actually having resources sounds like directories and just things to hand to give you ideas to use in the classroom, as well as I know we have a specific curriculum, is really, it's only a good thing, isn't it? Particularly if it reflects the local community and complexion of Portsmouth. So sounds like a good idea. Thank you, Maria, for raising that. And
we'll just notice, Chair, in the chat that Christine says she has a copy. And Sam has mentioned the Interfaith Forum.
Yeah.
Perhaps, without wanting this group to get too big, but Maria and I could meet, and if there are other people that recollect this, and Sam's got connection with the Interfaith Forum, a brief meeting to think of a way forward and to bring to a next agenda item.
That would be brilliant. Sounds like a little subgroup. Thank you. That's great. Okay then.
Chair, if I may come in.
Sorry, Taki, didn't see that.
No, just to say that it is a good idea, but you've got to be very careful with how you publish it with regards to the GDPR rules, because it is very, very important that when you publish these documents that you are critically aware of everybody who's in there has given the full consent of where it might go to, etc., etc.
Good point on GDPR. Agreement. That's great. Okay then. Well, thank you. So we'll go on to the next item, which is item 9, which is the monitoring group report. And I think it's back to Pat here to summarise the report and see if there's any questions afterwards.
Yeah, simply to remind SACRE that we'll try and meet at some point before the full SACRE meeting with a representative from each of the groups to reflect on how well the agreed syllabus is doing. And we had a meeting, you can see, on the 22nd of October. And you can see in the report the things that we were able to look at. One was to consider what had happened in the summer with regard to the GCSE examinations and the fact that they were all finally given out on the basis of teacher assessments, and that one way or another this means that we're not able to really find out precisely in the way we have done in the past what has been happening in schools. We had an update on the review process of Living Difference 3, and we were able to look at the websites of all of the LA schools with regard to how they are sharing with the community, what they're doing with regard to religious education. And in fact, one of the suggestions, I may even want to add a new recommendation if this is fine. One of the things we discussed at the meeting, but I've subsequently had a conversation with Jane Kelly, who's the diocesan RE advisor, is that it would be very useful were we to be able to produce some advice to the local authority schools as to what their websites would be best to show with regard to the agreed syllabus. Now, there's no compulsion, but we thought that schools probably would welcome some very simple guidance. So Jane Kelly and Justine Ball, my primary colleague, are going to meet to begin to put something together that we'll bring to the next monitoring group. I think the rest of the report speaks for itself, and I can receive any questions.
Are there any questions about the report? I'm making an assumption that people have read it. Any points from anyone who was at the meeting that they want to highlight, or any questions from anyone else? No? Thank you for that then. And it was a really interesting and quite robust conversations at that meeting. So it was the report looked short, but in actual fact the meeting was quite
2 hours.
Yeah, it was 2 hours and quite very interesting things discussed. Who knows what will happen next year when it comes to exams? I think most teachers would like to know the answer to that as well, to be honest. Okay, thank you very much for that. So now we go on to the report is noted, sorry, I meant to say that officially, and we'll go on to item 10, which is the national and local update on RE, and I think we're back to Pat on this one as well.
For those, I think everybody is aware here that the national organisation that brings together SACREs and SACRE wasn't able to hold its annual general meeting in May due to the coronavirus, and is holding an EGM on the 17th of this month, and that's next week. And one of the things we're seeking as a result of this report is for anybody who would be interested in attending that meeting. It's a virtual meeting, 10 till 12, next Tuesday. However, it is very important that we know who is interested to attend on behalf of Portsmouth, as we need to alert SACRE to this by tomorrow. The other thing we know is that we have the South Central SACRE Hub, and this is an opportunity for SACREs from the area to come together. So I know attending next week we already have Surrey, and well, we have other SACREs attending, so yeah, including hopefully somebody from Portsmouth. That will be a virtual meeting as well.
Do you want to establish if anyone wants to come forward now before we look at the update?
I think that would be helpful, yes.
Yeah. Sam's got a hand up, and okay, shall I go to you first, Sam? Is that yes, you are going?
Yes, I'm quite happy to attend
both or
it,
either?
yeah.
Are you looking for both, Pat?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Is that volunteering for both, Sam, or just one of them?
No, I'll do both. I'll just make sure if something comes up, like a funeral, for example, I'll let you know that I can't attend. But
thank you. And
yeah, I'm quite happy to.
Thanks very much. Jane was had her hand up next.
So I'm planning to attend the hub meeting on Monday. Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. And Elizabeth.
Yeah, as Pat knows, I'm attending. I think officially I'm representing Hampshire, but just to let you know, I'll be there. And if I can put in a plug for it, in addition to the initial part, which is the business meeting, we've got reports from 2 different SACREs that had West Hill grants, and they're going to be talking about their projects, and that should be quite interesting. I hope.
Is that like the one where we went to that school and they talked about? Was that the same grant? Where was it? We went up to that school that time and they talked through that they'd received a grant. Was that the same?
I think the teacher on that occasion was talking about a Farmington scholarship.
Farmington.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, yeah, you're right.
A Farmington is a grant that goes to an individual teacher who's given a cover, basically, and an opportunity to do research on a particular subject to benefit RE and the school or whatever.
Yeah. That was really good. But yeah. Oh, thank you. Any more offers?
But would I be right in thinking that some years ago, Portsmouth SACRE has received a West Hill funding for the conferences it used to run?
Yes, I think it got it twice in a row, actually. It was before I was involved in giving grants, judging grants. But yes, I think so. I think it was twice in a row for the annual conference that used to be held in Portsmouth, which would be really nice to revive, I think. But
I can see Jane smiling. Okay, that's great. Do you want to say anything about the update report, Pat, or just assume people have read it?
The only thing that's there still that I haven't already mentioned is the work of the Religious Education Council. That is the umbrella body that we remember published the core report, the Commission on RE report, making a number of recommendations, and we've discussed this in different ways over the last 2 years since the report was published. The RE Council is now taking forward extended discussions in relation to whether the subject should change its name to something like religion and worldviews. And we are very much engaging with this conversation in relation to the review of our agreed syllabus. And at some point, we'll have to make a decision with regard to our agreed syllabus about the extent to which we take that forward, because clearly to require that would be a change in the law. But it is an interesting and important discussion, and I hope in different ways we may well be able to engage with that.
Okay. Are there any... Elizabeth, you've got your hand up. Is that from before? And same with Chris, or is Chris... Chris, do you want to say something?
Yes, just on the REC, Pat. What's the direction of travel on that, if it's possible to say? Are we headed towards an RE and worldviews thing, or is that the direction of travel, or are you not really able to comment?
There is a report that I could send a link to, and we could include in the minutes, and Theos, which is a national organisation that seeks to bring matters in relation to religion into the public sphere for discussion. There was an evening meeting 2 weeks ago or so where a report was presented that I think might be interesting for SACRE members to read, and it's in the open domain. I think that broadly the way the discussion is at the moment is that this could mean one of a number of things, but I can give 2. One is that this could mean a way of opening up the subject to discuss more things, not just religion. Now, some teachers are worried about that may just increase the load of subject matter that ought to be taught. And some people think that could lead to, if you like, a lightening of the touch on the teaching of religion. And I know the young people in the Hampshire Youth Voice were worried about that. What they like about RE is exploring religion. But that's one way of looking at it. But there is another way of looking at this that is running alongside, I would say, as a result of these extended discussions. And that is, rather than this meaning additional material to include in the classroom, it's a way of reorienting the subject much more closely into what it means to live a religious life, what it means to live a human life. And in that way, it reorients back much closer to the child, in a sense, and the lived experience of living a human life. Now, to be fair, I think this is actually what we already have in Living Difference 3, and we would want to continue with, is that what we're interested in bringing into the classroom is the lived experience. It's what we say in the opening sentences of our agreed syllabus. So if that's what it means, then I think that we're really on the page already, actually. What I don't see coming anytime soon is a change in the law. So it's more a matter of being aware of the fact that the objective world religions paradigm has perhaps had its day, and this is an attempt to, in the best possible of interpretations, to open it up to something else. But as I say, I think those of us that are involved very fine-tuning with the review of the agreed syllabus, at the moment, I think what we want to say, as I repeat myself, if it means the second, we already feel that we have perfect scope for dealing with that within the agreed syllabus, bearing in mind that there's not going to be any extra time, curriculum time. I can't see that for RE. I don't know, have I answered your question, Chris?
Yep, thanks. So, so what I take away from it is that there is probably a direction of travel towards worldviews, but in a way which is compatible with the way that Living Difference is handling the whole subject. But actually, until someone changes it, until the government changes the law, we will be on this page for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's good to keep talking about it, I think. It's important for us as a SACRE to keep being aware of the fact that this is very much a discussion in the national sphere. And it's very important that we continue the review of the agreed syllabus, fully cognizant of what that is. So whatever decisions we make, they're conscious decisions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. Any other questions or comments on the update? Okay, then. So obviously, SACRE notes the report, recommends that the named members on this SACRE who've highlighted that they're happy to attend the NASACRE EGM on the 17th of November, and the SACRE members who are appointed to attend the South Central SACRE Hub meeting on the 16th of November. So thank you very much for those people representing us at those meetings. Moving on to agenda item 11, this is the determinations policy. So this is another report, thank you, by Pat, and she is going to, I guess, talk us through it.
Mm-hmm.
Before we break off into our little
yes.
groups.
So just one thing, I've noticed that the report is titled incorrectly, and that is...
I thought that, yeah.
That would be my mistake, but I think that the report should be entitled Determinations Report. So as we can see, we discussed this a year ago, and of course we've been unable to hold a SACRE meeting since November last year. We were able to hold the agreed syllabus conference, you remember, in the summer, but not a... So we looked at this in November, and what we have in front of us is a proposal for a determinations policy for this SACRE. And if SACRE is in agreement, this would then be lodged on the Portsmouth website for schools who are interested in knowing more about determinations, together with an application form. Now, although I should be clear, the group that had expressed an interest in November of coming together although we weren't actually able to meet all together, I have met with several members of the group and shared with them the determinations policy. And so there are at least 3 people here. Oh, Debbie Lucas isn't here, but there are 3 people who I was able to discuss the determinations policy with in advance of this meeting. And this policy has also been to the Portsmouth legal team for checking its legalities. So I think I'll just field some questions. And if there aren't any questions, once more, I'm very happy to do that, but I also don't want to repeat myself if that's not necessary.
Does anyone want a brief outline of this? Elizabeth, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, it's not the outline. It's just I'm trying to juggle because I didn't want to print it out. I know that it says specifically that this is nothing to do with not having an act of collective worship, that must go ahead. But what I can't remember, and I when I looked through it quickly, I didn't see, does it say anything about this also does not include any individual child that the parents might want to leave?
No. So,
and should that be clarified as part of it so that people understand that that's something totally different?
I think that what we hope, and this has been checked with the legal team, is that the background paragraphs at the beginning try and outline exactly what it is, rather than saying a whole lot of things about what it isn't, I suppose. And what is in the law is that there should be in a local authority school. So first of all, this only applies to local authority schools, and this only applies to local authority non-faith schools. So this does not apply to voluntary aided or voluntary controlled Church of England or Roman Catholic or any other maintained schools of a faith nature. This only applies to local authority non-faith schools. And at the moment, the collective worship should be broadly Christian. And what the law allows for is, were there to be a larger number of children in a school who are not of a Christian background, to the school can request a determination. But the main thing is that this application has to come through a head teacher. That is the only route it can come through.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Can't see any. Oh, Sandra.
No, I'm trying to lower my hand, but it keeps coming up again. I was going to say, what about the faith schools? But Pat has just answered it, which is why I tried to lower my hand.
Yeah. Collective worship in the faith schools is under the...
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm already determined.
Yeah, you're determined, yeah.
You are determined.
Collective worship.
I can't see anyone else with any... Oh, Sam, beg your pardon.
It's all right. Just a question, I suppose, about the application. Is there going to be a form?
Yes, that's here.
Just because I know that it was in our document that we've got, it's referring to it.
On the website, a form has been added, subsequent to our conversation, Sam. So on the website, now with the SACRE paper bundle that's on the Portsmouth website, there's an application form now.
Yeah. Page 23 of the pack, isn't it? Page 23 of the pack. Okay, thank you. And obviously, I actually didn't take part in those discussions, so thank you to those people who did to flesh out the detail of this. I think it's very clear, and it's very reassuring that it's gone through the legal team as well. So we know we're sure that we're doing the right thing. Okay. So
I can add, if it's of interest, is that we, in putting this together across the different SACREs that I'm working with, we have checked this also very, very, very widely across the country, with more than 20 different SACREs to find out. So there's a consistency there.
That's reassuring. Okay, so I think if we've got no more comments or questions, then we move to a formal vote, which is, this is the bit that you received an email of from yesterday. We need a 10-minute adjournment for those members present to make contact with their group representative to discuss how they should vote. So all the members, so whilst this is going on for the next 10 minutes, if you can turn off your cameras and your microphones. And you should have received an email yesterday from Lisa with email details of the group representative. But just to remind you, if you're in Group A, that this only works if you know what group you're in. Group A to Elizabeth Jenkinson, Group B to Reverend Sam Duddles, Group C to Aisha Small, and Group D to myself, Councillor Susie Horton. So you should have received an email which has got the email of the person that you're contacting over the next 10 minutes. Has anyone got any questions before we disappear?
How do we know when to come back?
So should we say 10 minutes? Should we say just, so what time is it now? It's according to me, it's 4:42. So should we say 10 to? Let's say 10 to. We'll try and get back in. All right, everyone. I shall go and look at my emails. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope technology did its thing. I think everyone's back. Are we waiting for anyone, Lisa? Can you see?
Checking the participants list. I think everyone's back actually.
That's great.
Yeah.
In which case we'll go straight to the vote, and just a reminder that there's one vote per group. It's not the number of people within the group. So we'll go to Group A first, which is the faith group. So Elizabeth, do you have
Yes.
a vote?
I've only heard from 3 people so far, but with me, it's the 4 of us. It's unanimous in support of accepting it.
Okay, thank you very much. Group B, which is Church of England, that's through Sam.
So yes from Group B, and also we would like to record a note of thanks to Pat for her thorough approach to working through this policy.
Yeah, I endorse that. Thank you very much, Sam. Group C, which is the teachers, Aisha.
Yep, we are all in favour.
Thank you, Aisha. And Group D, which is by me, it's a yes from us too. So that's nice and straightforward, especially after all that work. So thank you very much, everyone, for making that work so smoothly. And thank you, Lisa, for your work in the background and setting that up. That's the second time we've done that. So we're getting used to it. So thank you, everyone. That brings us to the end of that item. So item 12 is the annual report. So it's back to Pat to present before we have any questions or comments on that.
Yes, very good. So this is a report of SACRE's work over the last 12 months up until the summer. Just one point is that in reference to the GCSE data, we're always dealing with a year previously, so any reference to GCSE examinations refers largely to the 2019 examination series. What my proposal will be is simply to take you through page by page very, very briefly, alerting the headlines, and then I can receive any questions. The first section is very factual reporting on composition of SACRE and the meetings, the dates that we had, and then we come on to a summary of SACRE's work. And the monitoring of the effectiveness of the syllabus, training and things that have been done. And section 3 is regarding standards and the way that we've embarked, or SACRE has embarked on the monitoring of that. And we have section 4, we've received no complaints about religious education. And section 5 refers to collective worship, and you can see also there's been no complaints there. 5.3 refers to determinations, and there have been no requests for determinations, but as we move forward into writing next year's report, we can say that we adopted a determinations policy. There's a short reference there to the link that we have through the South Central SACRE Hub, and that we represented on the SACRE and the reading and research group that was happening prior to lockdown. And then Appendix A is a list of the membership of this SACRE. And finally, there's a list of the organisations that will receive a copy of this report. So, if there are any particular questions there. Is one important thing to note, actually, is that the annual report should have been redeveloped during the last 12 months, and that hasn't happened, partly because of the issues in relation to coronavirus. But one of the recommendations that I've put here is a small group of people might be interested to work with me to put together the SACRE's annual report action plan for 2021-2023. That would be lovely, and we can bring that to next SACRE for adoption.
Right. Anyone up for, well, first of all, any questions about the annual report or comments? Jane? Or are you just volunteering to be on there?
Yeah,
You're on
hear
mute. You're on mute at the moment, Jane.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead and saying that I'm happy to be involved in writing the action plan.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Thank you. Elizabeth, you've got your hand up.
Yes, I had a question. I got a bit confused actually about, I think it says that there are 17, I can't remember the exact wording, but about 17 faiths that can be members or something. And two things about that. One is, I think I would suggest that they be listed at that point. And I'm not quite sure when I try to add them up, the ones that we have and the ones that we're looking for, maybe I'm just not adding correctly or looking in the right place, but I don't think it comes up to that right number. But the other question I have, which is why I think this may be more long term, I realize that this may be a reflection of our constitution or the city council's way of doing things or whatever. But I just wondered about having a set list of faiths that can be recognized, because it may be that there's others that we either don't know about or that will become, quite strong in Portsmouth or well represented in Portsmouth or something in the near future. And I just wondered if it couldn't be worded differently. So rather than giving numbers, we could say faiths that are accepted by the Religious Education Council, or faiths to be determined by a subcommittee or something like that.
Do you have any comment on that, Pat?
It's interesting. I suspect that the 15 refers to the Portsmouth Constitution, Portsmouth SACRE Constitution, but I can't be sure. So you can ask me to check that before the report is sent. With regard to the constitution of who is in Group A, I think that's really determined in law. I think it says something to the effect that Group A should be comprised of religious groups that are within the area of the SACRE. Words to that effect. It sounds like Elizabeth would like me to just check that line in the page 2, and we'll check that. Lisa and I, SACRE's clerk and myself, can check that is represented what is in the Constitution.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying, Elizabeth, is it about the clarity of the wording, about what it's based on? What's that 15 is based on?
Well, for these purposes, yes.
Yeah.
But I would suggest that if it is feasible to change it, we might consider having just saying, either what the REC accepts or that a subcommittee meets to discuss. I think that's what's in Hampshire. If that's possible, I realize we probably can't change the Portsmouth City Charter if it's because of that. We're stuck with it, but I guess. But if it's up to us, I just wonder, it's both that there might be another faith that we feel should be included, but also there could be some incident. I won't speculate, but for some reason we might feel that a particular faith shouldn't be represented in Portsmouth, and I mean, not that I anticipate that, but it just seems to me that we're sort of tying ourselves into a box here. And if we could make it a little more open, where we would have the opportunity to decide who should and shouldn't be on the SACRE, might make a bit more sense.
Okay, I'm going to come to Sam and then back to Pat on that in that order.
I agree with Elizabeth. Perhaps some transparency is good, isn't it, when it comes to who's not involved and perhaps why, but also there is a grey area about what people believe in, I say very carefully. So I think it's right to just have clarity about it.
Thank you, Sam. Back to Pat.
Yes, I think there are two things at work here. One is that I need to check exactly what's within the constitution of Portsmouth SACRE to make sure that that element on page 2 of the annual report is entirely accurate. I'm fairly sure that what it says here today is what it has said in the past, so that's the first time that this has been exactly picked up. But we should check that that's accurate, and that's fine. There's a second issue, though, that I think is being raised here, and that is about what SACRE's constitution says about membership. Now, it's not that long ago that we did revisit the SACRE constitution in relation to some matters in this area. But I would be advised by our chair, perhaps, about how frequently you think a constitution
I mean,
should be revisited.
As this was coming up, I thought exactly that I thought we'd had quite lengthy discussions on this, and in regard to the constitution and the groups, and I thought we'd come to a resolution on it. I know they're two different issues, but I don't know whether we want to. I'm trying to think what we would gain from having the conversation again. Is it worthwhile at the next meeting just coming back with a clarity on those 2 points, and perhaps when it comes to the second point is actually maybe a little bit of a summary, because some people are new since we had that conversation, maybe a little bit of a summary about the reasons that we came to the decision we did quite relatively recently. I think it was last year, or maybe it was a year
maybe
before.
2 years ago.
Yeah, maybe 2 years ago. It goes quick, doesn't it? Does that sound like a way forward?
I'm wondering if whether SACRE will be willing to allow me to adjust, if necessary, the annual report just in that line, whether it does say 15 members or what it does say, and we make sure it says what the SACRE constitution says, and that otherwise we can accept the annual report and it could be sent off to the relative bodies. But perhaps at our next meeting we just have a revision, if you like, a reminder of what the constitution does say.
That sounds like a sensible way forward to me. Hang on, I've got to try and work out what order they were. Lisa, did you see who was next?
I wonder if it was Taki and then Elizabeth.
I think it was Taki.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, Taki, you go.
I just wanted to just say that as we are part of the local authority as well, is it something that the local authority has determined or decided for us, or is it something that we are deciding on behalf of the local authority?
Pat,
I
do you want to answer that?
I think I can come back. Yes, so the SACRE constitution operates within the local authority. So the SACRE, the county council, the city council proper is cognizant of the SACRE constitution. And if I remember rightly, actually what happens is that the city council has devolved the responsibility for determining the membership of SACRE to SACRE. That doesn't happen in every SACRE, but in this SACRE, but that is a devolved responsibility. Peter's coming in here typing, which is helpful because Peter's been involved with SACRE for quite a few years. So, if that's helpful,
that's correct.
Yes,
thank you.
He's clarifying that. Thank you, Peter.
Membership. So, were there to be an application for membership from a group or other, it would be up to SACRE to determine to accept that application or not.
That's the clarity I'm
And I
seeking.
think we wrapped that up in the Constitution when we visited last time.
I think so. Councillor Coles, did you want to say something? I thought I saw Councillor Coles.
Sorry, yeah. So,
then you disappeared. I think you were next,
sorry.
and then Elizabeth.
I was just reading the Constitution.
Great.
So numbers are limited on B, C, and D, but there's no limit on Group A by the looks of things. It just says one representative of Christian denominations and other religions and their denominations reflecting the principal religious traditions of the area. So I don't think there's any numerical limit on that group, so to speak. It's just 4 for B, 6 for C, and 4 for D are the only ones that are mentioned in the Constitution, and that's the Constitution dated November 2018.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Coles, for that.
Sorry.
that is pretty much what the law says that it should represent. So there isn't a limit. It's helpful. So we do need to adjust that line. I'll do that accordingly.
Thank you. Back to Elizabeth.
Yeah, I remember actually there was one other thing to do with that I wanted to raise. I know some SACREs, and I'm not saying this is what is wanted or we should, but I have a vague feeling actually that we already do, that we have one representative of Shia Islam and one of Sunni. And I don't know if that's right, but I suggest we leave ourselves open to the possibility if that is the case or is desirable. And I just wanted to clarify to make sure that everybody knows that the annual report is to be sent to SACRE, but also to the DFE.
Okay, and Peter's come in and clarified that you're right on that point, which is very useful. Thank you, Peter. Okay, I think we can. Oh, Chris, coming in.
Yeah, so me again. As I look at the report, which thank you, Pat, really helpful. My interest focuses really on section 3, which is the standards in RE, which is at the core of our job to monitor that. Just look at the religious studies examination. What would be helpful, if not this time, but perhaps for future, is to know how many schools are offering RS and how many. So say there were 30 schools offering RS within our area. What percentage were coming from each school? Because it may be that we've got good results from a few students, I think, as a summary of that section. Is that because, say, 1 or 2 faith schools are doing it really well and the broad brush is done, less well? Or is it that there's a uniformly high standard across a large number of schools with a small number of pupils in each? So that would be a useful snapshot for us to monitor, I think.
Yes. The answer to your question broadly is that we have a small number of schools entering a relatively small number of children across the authority, and however they do achieve fairly well against the national, and that's for the reasons that you've pretty much alluded to, I would guess. And it does remain a concern, I think, of SACRE, as when we've looked at the monitoring previously, that there are a fair number of schools that are not entering any students for GCSE. And I think we've raised this before in more explicit discussions, that we continue to be concerned about that. And SACRE has tried a number of different ways to raise this with head teachers. Clearly there is only one non-faith LA school in the authority. The thing I can tell you is that, we're working very well with that school, and there are reasons that we don't want to name any schools in this public meeting.
Yeah.
But I would say it's fair to say that I'm speaking on behalf of SACRE here, but that SACRE continues to be concerned at the low entries for GCSE across the authority. And the follow-up question is, what is it that the other children are receiving, the other young people are receiving for their core RE at Key Stage 4. And this is a question that we've attempted to raise in a number of different ways, including at head teachers' meetings. And were our LA advisor here, they may want to continue trying to do this.
Yeah.
So do we just note this as a area of concern, or is there any further notification we should make as a committee up the line, or how does it work?
It's difficult because most of the secondary schools in the local authority are academies. So SACRE, strictly speaking, doesn't have any jurisdiction over the non-LA schools. I think it would be perhaps enough at this point for SACRE to ask that the monitoring group should address this quite explicitly when it meets in the new year, to look at some ways.
Yeah.
Thank
Sounds
you.
like a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you for raising that, Chris. And I think sometimes when you're on the monitoring group, you kind of know this stuff, but actually I think you raise a really good point is about how the monitoring group does feedback to this public meeting without compromising the confidentiality. So very good question. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in this report?
So, just to say that Chris's question is of a national concern.
Mm-hmm.
It's of national concern, and it's one of the reasons for the Commission on RE's report. That would be fair to say.
Okay then, so just to wrap this up, we've obviously received the report and had some conversations around it. This annual report will be forwarded to the relevant national and local bodies subject to that one change that we've discussed. SACRE convened a small group to develop a new 3-year action plan. So that was Jane and who else was it? Sorry, memory. Sam, was it Sam? No, Elizabeth. Sorry. Anyone else wanting to join the working group on the action plan? Sam. It was Sam. Can't see any more hands. So thank you to those people. That's duly noted. And that brings us on to the item 13, which is the date and venue of the next meeting, which is to note, is the Wednesday, the 3rd of March. Who knows what the world will be like then at 4 o'clock. I'm assuming we'll still be virtual, but hey, you never know. We will assume that is the case. I know we don't officially have any other business, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And one of them is, and I just double checked because I didn't know how official it was, that Sandra is actually going to be stepping back. Sandra Gibb is actually going to be stepping back. And I wanted to, at this meeting, to thank her for the work that she's done over more years than I've been involved, that's for sure. And I think I understand, is it 6 years, Sandra? Is she still there?
There I am. I'm off mic now. It's difficult. More than 6 years.
More than 6 years.
You all know how long I've been there because it was ages ago, wasn't it? I think about 10, something like that. Yeah. Wow. When Alan left St Jude's, so that is a good 10 years ago. Well, thank you, Sandra, and I do understand how much you've got on at the moment, and it's one of those ones, isn't it, with a lot of things, it's like, oh, well, it's not that many meetings, so therefore I should still carry on doing it, but when you've got 50 things that are not that many meetings, it does actually mount up, so I completely understand. It's the fact that if you want to give yourself properly, you've got to read everything properly. Yeah. You get to that stage when I haven't got the time at the moment, and I just thought it's best. Having missed a couple of meetings, I just thought I need to actually say, now's Group C strong. We've never had this many people in Group C for ever since I've been there. There's only been 2 of us. So I think now it's in a strong position, I can leave. So, well, thank you very much. To place on record, thanks on behalf of the whole of SACRE for everything that you've done. And I'm sure our paths will still cross. Well, mine will definitely cross with you, but I'm sure everyone else's will as well. And thank you for everything you're doing in school at the moment.
that was the first thing. The second thing, this is just to mention that Elizabeth is going to be applying for her to continue with her role in. I always say it wrong, SACRE or SACRE. And she's done. I think originally she did two terms, which she was allowed to do. Then she's been co-opted, and now she's allowed to go back on and apply to do another term. So I just thought I'd let everyone know that she's applied for that, which is a really positive thing for us here in Portsmouth at our SACRE. Do you need to say anything? Does either Pat or Elizabeth need to say anything more about that, or is that okay? No, that's fine. So that's just information. And I think then, unless no one else is waving, I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. And I just want to say thanks from me for everyone for everything you're doing in your small communities and the larger community at these very strange times. And thank you for all your time this evening. In which case, good night.
Thank you, Susie.